Coming up, like they say, everybody talks about the weather, but there's little you can do about it except possibly get ready. Well, we've got a possible and exciting new approach. This and more on Perspectives. I'm Sam Jones. You know, there are times that I'm very guilty of taking for granted all that I'm free to do in this country of ours. But without exception, something comes along to remind me of how important this thing called freedom really is. Now, for example, I enjoy free speech, which is good because of the business I'm in. But free speech carries with it responsibility. For example, I can't shout fire in a crowded theater when there's no fire, unless I'm ready to pay the consequences, which can be severe. And I'm also free to do just about anything I want to do. I can go fishing, I can sit in the shade, I can laugh at who's running for office, I can worship in whatever form I choose or not, and go anywhere I want, whenever I want. That wasn't always the case for some Americans. In fact, there was a time when some members of our society couldn't travel when they wanted. They couldn't shop or eat where they wanted, or check into a hotel room if they needed a rest. There were color barriers that prevented that and more. You know, I can still remember public water fountains marked white only and colored only, and signs on public transportation that stated, "Colored step to the rear of the bus." Well, a recent article in Smithsonian Magazine pointed out the one-time hazards of travel for non-whites in this country. Did you know that there was a time when sundown towns posted signs warning people of color that they were banned after nightfall? Well, it's true. One bright light in all of this hate came from a fellow by the name of Victor H. Green, a black postal carrier in Harlem. He published a book called The Negro Motorist Green Book, based on recommendations from black members of his Postal Service union. It was a 15-page directory that covered Mr. Green's home turf, the New York metropolitan area. And it was as complete a list as possible of establishments that welcomed black Americans: hotels, garages, restaurants, service stations, golf courses, state parks, motels or tourist courts, as they were called back then, barber shops and beauty parlors. It also listed private homes where black Americans could spend the night. Victor Green soon started selling advertising space in his Green Book, and there was never a shortage of sponsors. The Green Book's final edition was published in 1966. It filled 99 pages, covered the entire nation and some international cities. He charged 25 cents for the first edition, $1 for the last. Writing in the 1948 edition, Mr. Green predicted, "There will be a day in the future when this guide will not have to be published. That's when we as a race will have equal opportunity and privilege in the United States." Victor Green died in 1960, 4 years before Congress passed the Civil Rights Act. But some say he was showing the way for the next generation of black entrepreneurs. A great deal of that discrimination is behind us, but we still have a long way to go. And just when we thought things were improving, along comes candidates who are openly calling for discrimination against Muslims and Hispanics. They're talking in support of torture and deportation, of walls and hate and fear. To their way of thinking, the more frightened and uneducated you are, the better their chances for being elected. And their party is standing rock solid right behind them. That's unbelievable. This country's better than that. We weren't born of fear. And there is a spirit that lives here that refuses to die, and it's the spirit of freedom. Freedom for all. The number of Americans who know that is growing stronger every hour of every day. Give that some thought before you go to the polls and make what could become the most important decision of your life and the future of this country. That's my perspective. Coming up, You may not be familiar with the name Tempus Global Data, but that could change real soon. More right after this.